Hi guys, number one Marmaduke fan here. I think 10-minute videos are the bane of YouTube's existence, and there's like a shtick that, I guess channels like mine, so this is kind of a self-criticism. We have one point, but then we stretch it out for 10 or 20 minutes, and I was watching a video by a guy I like, and I could tell he was doing it, and I immediately checked out. So my goal is to defy the algorithm gods and just let you know what I'm reading and why it works without repeating my points 6 times. Can I do it? We'll find out. All right, Cirque du Freak and again, look at it again, Volume 4 and Cirque du Freak Volume 7. These are two of my favorite series of the year. I always get excited when I sit down to read them. They always are fun and entertaining. My last review for both of them was kind of a little lukewarm or qualified. I didn't like some of the plot contrivances of Cirque du Freak 6. And again, I thought it was just kind of settling into, sort of a daily routine, fun, Japanese cheer club kind of thing. And then both of these pleasantly surprised my expectations. They built on the stakes of the previous volumes, therefore kind of getting me reinvested. So I think the first couple volumes of a manga are really important. The first couple chapters of a story are really important because that's where you establish the tone, the characters, the stakes of the world. A New Hope is a great start to the Star Wars saga because it's so fast-paced, it gives you such a clear idea of the 3 main characters, and you have fun the entire time. But then The Empire Strikes Back, that's the best movie in the original trilogy because it builds on those stakes so much and kind of has a tone shift from the fun, adventurous feel of A New Hope. And Cirque du Freak 7 and again Volume 4 both do this. I think it's something you have to be aware of if you're a capitalist, and you have to keep your readers continually invested in what's going on. If people are dipping out, if people aren't voting for it, if people are not picking up the magazine, then something you're doing is not keeping them invested. And so maybe a little drama or a new character that can help keep people invested, as long as it's not like cheap, as long as it doesn't become like cheap and there's a new like monster every week just to get be over the top and ridiculous. So let's look quickly at the art because we're 2 minutes. I want to get this done in under 10. So Darren Shan is the author and the main character of Cirque du Freak, art by Takahiro Arai. There's some neat things where the evil Mr. Des Tiny shows up, and I like this bit where he repeats this panel composition, but then gradually has the shadows become more intense as he lowers each finger. Something about Darren Shan's writing style that I'm not sure if I'm sold on it yet is Darren Shan likes to state his foreshadowing directly. So he won't have like an oblique little reference to their fate. He'll have Darren Shan look at a river and say, "Little did I know that the next time I returned to the river, I would be fighting for my life." And Destiny says, "You will have 3 chances to beat the evil Vampanese Lord, and if you fail, then the vampires shall become extinct." So Chekhov's gun is a term for writing where if you're going to have a gun go off in the 3rd act, you need to show the gun in the 1st act. And if you also, the same is true in reverse. If you see a gun in the 1st act, you expect it to go off in the 3rd act. And you've probably seen this in every single movie ever. In Jaws, one of the characters has a quip about how you got to be careful about those tanks or they'll blow up. And if you're movie savvy, you instantly know, oh, that's how they're going to kill Jaws. Because if otherwise, why would they have that line in there about there being danger with the tanks? It's because later they're going to use the tanks to blow up the shark, and they want to establish that for the audience. And I think especially like for Hollywood movies, because Hollywood is so polished, the 3-act structure, like people will get it down to like in this scene, on this page, in this paragraph, this thing will happen. So Darren Shan likes to kind of like lay out, here is what's going to happen in the future. There's going to be like 3 encounters, and I guess that kind of spoils like my anticipation because I'm kind of expecting, oh, okay, they're going to fail 3 times and then the big super final battle is going to happen. But what makes this series work is the character of Darren Shan. He's been through so much grief, he's been through so much trial and difficulty, and he's overcome it, and he's earned the respect of his peers. So then what do we got to do? Then we got to give him a bigger challenge. So last time he was struggling just to do the Trials of Initiation. Well, now he can easily do the Trials of Initiation. But they have a war coming up with a sort of a superior, ruthless force. And the vampires have bigger numbers, but the Vampanese are like more willing to use any techniques necessary to win. So great, it's a great little setup. I want to talk about the artist comments because there's always so much interesting stuff in that. So they meet this witch, and she looks like this big, monstrous bearded lady with huge tangles of hair. And Arai talks about how he doesn't even know how to wrap his head around it. Can I actually put this into art? In fact, should I? The details are so overpowering, I can't imagine the whole effect at once. And then the author, Darren Shawn, just explains, well, think of the Michelin Man. And that was the secret he needed to kind of get a mental picture of the character. I just thought that was great. It kind of touches on, like, how do you draw something if you can't form a concrete picture of it, if you just have some details, and usually like a metaphor can help you. And he talks about like the process of getting to go to England with his editor and taking photos everywhere and getting lost. This just like underscores. There are so many manga artists who talk about getting their reference photography and going out with their editor to just take them 100 photos or 1,000 photos of a place. And he's actually a kid who grew up in the UK, so for him this was kind of like revisiting kind of his old stomping grounds, just to get reference material for the manga as he's taking his photos. I snap the shutter as though in a dream. Every one of these photos I take will turn into the flesh and blood of the Cirque du Freak manga. So this is a fantasy manga, but having that element of real life is really helpful, and I think it's a good idea to start taking your own photo reference, so you're not just reliant on 3D models or public domain photos. And look where you live. Look for the place where you are to find inspiration, because no one can. It's easy. I made the mistake of thinking, oh, I'm going to tell a action story, I'll set it in Japan. I don't know anything about Japan or how to draw Japanese stuff. I'll let the Japanese artists draw Japanese stuff, and I'm going to draw stuff from where I live. Look at this. It's a little to be continued arrow that looks like it's directly out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Is that a JoJo reference? Anyway, and then he has like all these great comments that they reprinted. I'm not going to read them all, but the recurring theme is speaking to the fans with enthusiasm, getting them pumped up for the book, giving them little interesting insights into the world and the writing process, and getting to meet the original writer, and kind of humanizing yourself and giving them some glimpses into your normal life. Oh, I got a puppy. The fans, they really like Kurta, and he's hard to draw. That is just great human stuff, and it kind of does what the Bullpen Bulletin used to do, where the Bullpen Bulletin in Marvel Comics would kind of give you a sense for, the fun of working at Marvel Comics. Even if some of it's just like playing it up for the camera, kind of like pumping up how quirky you are, or all of it is of interest to young people who love manga, because they're interested in the people who make it. It's almost of art historical interest. Again, I'm really happy with this. So I was kind of getting settled into it. The team, they're going to join the Owen Don and the cheerleading team, and poor Captain Usami, she's a girl who loves manly things and she hates girly things, so she hates the idea of having to do cheers. So the direction I felt like it was going at first is, oh, okay, what's interesting about this is Captain Usami and Kin both have like related strengths and flaws. They're both judgmental people, but they sort of focus that in different ways. Kin is antisocial, and because he sees like the way people BS each other and kind of engage in social niceties without meaning it, he likes to withdraw himself from people, or he just loses his temper and explodes. Captain Usami is very traditional. She sees a boyish thing that she loves. She wants to kind of maintain that tradition, and so she commits herself to that tradition. But she's so judgmental that she has zero chill, essentially. And this means that they're able to their complementary strengths and weaknesses means they're able to kind of tackle a problem a different way. She tackles it through commitment and through adherence to tradition. And Ken thinks a lot about what's cool. And he doesn't really care if it's something's traditional. He just wants the Owen Don to be cool again. And the challenge for Usami is, can she kind of give up her raw commitment to tradition enough that she can keep the Owen Don alive and have the Owen Don serve its purpose of being an actual legitimate cheer squad, of helping the sports team win games. It's a really beautiful thematic thing. But then the big twisteroo comes when Kin hits his head again, and something that's just been a subtext the whole time comes back. So the whole time, Kin and Akira have like bonked their heads, and they went back in time 3 years, and that felt like it was just the setup for, okay, now they get to relive their high school lives again and make up their mistakes. And once in a while they talk about the future, but not much was happening with it. And I almost wonder if like the editor said, hey, I want you to bring the time travel angle back into it again. Raises the question of how much artistic, I don't know. Oh, great. We're almost getting 10 minutes. I'm feeling my mission. I guess it just brings up some questions about like the artist versus the editor. But what's interesting is this actually helped me. This helped introduce a problem for for the characters to overcome. The time travel comes back. Ken goes back to the real world where he's antisocial and never made any friends. It doesn't seem like he's changed anything. Can he get back, and what effect are they having through the time travel shenanigans? So what's interesting is now this gives him a chance to gather information about the future and go back and try to change things. This means that it wasn't just like a little setup at the beginning that we could forget about, and then it's back to being a normal high school drama. So this really made me scared the whole time, because I really was invested in, can he get the Owen-Dine to work? But once the time travel thing gets undone, then I want him to get back and join the Owen-Dine again. And they do that. They don't keep you in suspense too long. But what this makes clear is that the time travel aspect isn't just like a forgettable little moment at the beginning of this. It's going to be important going forward. And the question is still open. Can they make changes that are permanent, or are they only just traveling to another world where it'll have no effect on their normal lives? And I highlighted one page that was just maybe like a sweet little example of the appeal of this manga. So Mitsuru Kubo, she's a female mangaka. She has a variety of female characters with various personalities and really beautiful female protagonists, really, because they have flaws, they take responsibility, they make mistakes, they apologize. I think she's aware that she's making a shonen thing primarily for boys, so she kind of lets a boy be the protagonist. She makes the boy's journey from being an antisocial boy to being a really important part of this team. That's the central focus. But then she lets Akira kind of be a good supporting character and a comedic character who sort of tweaks the nose of the genre. So I'm sure that the author is very aware that people like to ship these characters, so she'll have Akira draw her ships on the board, and it's funny because everyone gets flustered and they don't want to be romantically together. They just want to get the Owen-Dine together and kick some butt at the game. But it's just it's self-aware of the tropes of the genre, while having a kind of core, beautiful story about overcoming problems and integrating into a social structure and being part of something larger than yourself. And one of the best manga of the year. So, Cirque du Freak, again by Mitsuru Kubo. 2 excellent manga. Every volume has been fun. I can't wait to finish these volumes. I'll be sad when I finish these volumes because I won't get to read them anymore, but I can't wait to finish them and do like a kind of complete review of the effects of the series as a whole. These are probably the only books. There are very few books that I'd be willing to pay money to read if my library doesn't have them, and both of these books have kind of reached the category of, if the library doesn't have it, I'm going to have to spend actual money to get it. All right, well, we failed wrapping up in under 10 minutes, but I feel good. I didn't repeat my point 6 times. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, click the bell to receive notifications. If you want to help me afford the manga to continue reviewing these, if my library doesn't have them, then check out my Subscribe Star. It's the best way to support this channel. Thank you, Subscribe Star supporters. Thank you, Super Chat donators. I love all you guys, and I will catch you later.